please welcome to the stage Lieutenant General Gregory J. Gagnon, Commander of Combat Forces Command, United States Space Force, and Chief Master Sergeant Michael J. Rosneck, Command Senior Enlisted Leader for United States Space Command Forces Command, Combat Forces Command at United States Space Force.
Chief, I thought it was Friday. Is it Friday?
It is Friday, sir.
Because it feels like Sunday, because everyone is sitting in the back of the room and nobody came up front. We got one person up front. Who is that? I got the sun in my eyes. Yell your name out. Oh, Chief, thank you. Thank you for having the courage to sit up front. It's courage to sit up front. So Chief and I have been in Florida now for the whole week, and we've had a tremendous week investing time with our Guardians. Our Guardians at the junior-most level, and of course General Saltzman was in, and the Vice Chief is here, Guardians at the senior-most level. I will tell you that many of our contract friends who are here today don't know what we did on Wednesday. And Wednesday was an important day for the Space Force as well, because it was our Guardian Professional Development Day. And Chief and I spent the day with Guardians at all echelons talking about a series of different topics. Chief, what were your thoughts about Wednesday?
Thanks, sir. So, first off, thanks for SFA, and thanks for the individuals that... I get music, sir.
That rhymed with my name.
See that? That was good. That was good. Guardian Professional Day was amazing. The opportunity for us to get together and talk about topics that affect us in our service is critical. So Wednesday was amazing. Some of the panels, all the panels were great. But some of the things I think through, sir, is we can't stop there. It just can't be one time a year where we get together. And, you know, when you talked about your 3 priorities you had earlier today, some of the focus areas that in Combat Forces Command that I feel we need as enlisted and officer corps to get after is ownership. And that's part of some of that ownership is not waiting for the perfect tool to come down, the perfect development course to happen. NCOs owning how they need to develop their people, and the CGOs taking their mission and owning their sphere of influence, no matter how big or how small. Training, we need our people to train. We need them to train not just after they're certified, but knowledge is a continuing path that never stops, and there's always something to learn. The professionalism that they showed on Guardian Development Day was amazing. And we need to continue that. And then the last thing is, you've heard in the panels today that we are working on fielding new systems. But we need to be ready to fight with what we have today and what is given to us. Some of the examples of these 4 traits, sir, if you give me a second, is OneSOP's Tier 3 certification event. And if you don't know what this is this is a homegrown event that OneSOP's put on by a specialist. What this is no one told them to do this. They saw a need and a desire to get better as NCOs and specialists, and 35 of them get together, and it's Tier 1, 2, and 3 is the highest. They build a brief, and they question each other to make sure they're certified. And once they get that done, they are at the highest level of their technical thing they can be. And so what I really loved about this story, sir, is they weren't waiting. They weren't waiting for Chief Rosneck or General Gagnon or the commander or Delta commanders to tell them what to do. They did it on their own. And that leads me to, sir, to ask you is, we talk a lot about warrior ethos and warrior culture. Mm-hmm. What are some of your thoughts on that topic and where we need to go as CFC?
So inside Combat Forces Command, we have the benefit of 6 years of graduates who are nothing but original OG, right? Original Guardian. So we have a young force that has only been Guardian. The second characteristic we have is we have an NCO corps and an officer corps in sort of the FGO ranks. That comes from all the services. So inside our formation are many people who have served overseas and have served in combat, and have served in combat in either the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, or the Navy. And we're able to pull from them those things that build a climate and a culture that is successful in combat. Now, my background's similar to yours. I was in the Air Force. And when I was in the Air Force as a young officer like Captain Hoskins, I used to make the joke that I was in the Army Air Corps. And why did I make the joke that I was in the Army Air Corps? Because in my specialty in the Air Force, we fell in on Army units, whether they were special ops units or regular Army units. So I had the opportunity to spend time with them as a junior officer executing our profession of arms. I've also had the opportunity at the earliest time to be with fighter wings and fighter squadrons in our profession of arms. And what I have seen, whether I've been overseas in the combat zone or stateside executing reach-back operations, is that for effective military organizations, the key elements of combat credibility start with accountability. Accountability is trait one. Every NCO and every officer is accountable for the mission and accountable for their team. The second thing that is an important trait in a culture that is professional and effective in peacetime and in wartime is tactical proficiency. We need to focus on and reward tactical proficiency. For a new Guardian who comes to Combat Forces Command, that means immediately getting into crew training, getting through crew training and achieving Q+. That means once you're on Q, the thing I value most inside our space ready crew instruction is that we move more people from inexperienced to experienced to highly experienced. Because what matters is your tactical proficiency. That's what gives you value. What gives you value is how you know how to execute GPS for flex power when someone is deep in enemy territory and they're in a contested environment in the electromagnetic spectrum. That's what the Joint Force needs from you. What the Joint Force needs from you is they need to understand how to provide missile warning that's timely, accurate, and disseminated so that you know how to use your weapon system. And why that matters is because on the receiving end of that missile warning, there's somebody doing battle damage assessment or preparing the ship to be attacked. That's how you add value. Your tactical proficiency is how you are a warfighter. It is the second trait we need to see in all of our units. The third trait we need to see in all of our Guardians is the courage to correct. The courage to correct. In elite units, they police themselves. I've been in the military over 3 decades. I've met many Marines. Marines police themselves. They all look the same. They're the model of fitness. Their haircuts are tight. The courage to correct starts with customs and courtesies, but the courage to correct also extends to the ops floor. It's about debriefing procedural errors. It's about making sure that everyone on crew is the best version of themselves on crew. That means correcting somebody when they've been out all night partying instead of getting ready to execute mission the next day. The courage to correct is what I'm looking for. And if you think as you get older, it gets easier to correct people, I'll tell you it doesn't. I still don't enjoy those directed feedbacks that I have to do. But I know it's my job because I'm part of the profession of arms, and my job is to deliver the most combat effective forces I can. Not just combat ready, but ready to win. And the fourth thing I'm looking for in each of my units is really something I'm looking for from the leadership. Have they inspired those who work for them to buy in to a culture of excellence? Units that are effective, whether it's a fighter squadron downrange, whether I'm with a JSOTF or I'm home station executing mission from Buckley, the most effective units are going to have those 4 traits: accountability, a respect for tactical proficiency, the courage to correct, and a commitment to excellence. That's what drives effective military operations. I talked a long time, Chief. I'm sorry.
No, that was perfect.
I got fired up.
I took notes. I hope somebody took notes, because I took notes too. So another question. I've been in the job for 6 months.
Okay.
I have learned so much from the evolution of Space Operations Command and where General Miller laid the foundation for Combat Forces Command and where we're going now. I know I've learned a ton in what we do. Curious, since you've been in the job, about 39 days, if I do the math right, what have you seen in some of the things that you were surprised or you know now that you didn't know then?
Okay. Yeah. The first month's been fantastic. Chief and I have been able to get out to the units and see things at the tactical level. But I've also been able to lean into the headquarters. One thing that didn't surprise me was our operational acceptance for test and training, which is OAT. It's an acronym. It's a big meeting. It's a big meeting that brings our integrated mission delta leadership, which are the people operating the system and the people sustaining the system. And then it brings in our partners at SSC and from STARCOM, and we go over every modification we're going to make to a system out to about 18 to 24 months. And it is a long meeting, and I hate long meetings. So I will tell you, at my age, sometimes the meeting's so long that I have to stand up and stretch, okay? But we go into such detail that we're talking about how we're going to upgrade a system, right? What we're going to have to take offline, how do we minimize operational impact, and we go through it at great detail. What I think is very valuable about that is that at the 06 and the senior NCO level and at the civilian GS-15 level, everyone in that meeting knows everybody, and there's a good level of trust in that relationship, and that's kind of what I expected, because General Miller had told me about this, and he said the team is really congealing and coming together, and I saw that. Now, on the flip side, I came and I saw something I wasn't even tracking from the Pentagon, and that was how we were executing SATCOM. We've established a new top secret floor for executing narrowband, wideband, and protected SATCOM, and what that is allowing us to do is to holistically assess the electromagnetic spectrum in the threat environment and make sure that we can allow the joint force, with us included, to shoot, move, and communicate. And that's an ability to shoot, move, and communicate across multiple constellations. What we need to do is do a good debrief of that in about 6 months and figure out what our new needs are. Because being able to run this fast probably needs some new tools, and we need some new tools. And then I want us to actually execute daily operations in a way that's dynamic. Why do I want to do that? Because I don't want to have communication pattern of life. I want to make it harder for the adversary to figure out how they can jack me up on my worst day, and I want to condition them in peacetime to just be confused, because I actually don't like them, okay? I do not like the PLA because they don't stand for what I stand for. So the more I can ruin their day, the happier I am. I got a question for you. What do you think, since you've been 6 months in the job, is the greatest strength of Combat Forces Command?
Oh, that's easy. Our power is our people, sir. It is inspiring to see what our CGOs and NCOs are doing. When we first went down the journey of standing up the combat squadrons, I remember the conversations that were had is, we need a lieutenant colonel to do that, we need a major to do that. And we said, a captain can do it. We have a captain flying an F-35. You're telling me they can't command and control a squadron. Same conversations was having with our enlisted leaders. We needed a senior NCO, a senior master sergeant. We have tech sergeants. And if you were able to be at the professional development day and see Cap Maine, Tech Sergeant McCready, and Tech Sergeant Kinkinter, you wouldn't see that they are excelling they're exceeding every expectation that we had. The professionalism they had, their desire to do better every time, the candid conversations and the candid feedback that I was hearing, they weren't afraid to tell us what they think and where we need to get better. It was inspiring. So I would say our people by a long shot. Technology, it'll be there, right? The PLA will develop the same thing we develop, will be on par. The difference is the cognitive ability of our people to think through complex problems and to fight through. by far our advantage is our military personnel, sir.
Yeah, I agree completely. I will tell you that when we did change of command 39 days ago, I grabbed the flag outside, and 3 days later, I'm at the out brief for the Space Weapons and Tactics Conference. And it's in Colorado Springs, which is where we hosted it, and we brought in our allied partners. And the best presentation of the week, and this is going to upset all the other presentations of the week, because that's just how it happens, was Master Sergeant Lynch. Master Sergeant Lynch was pretty amazing. And what he did is he built a TTP using one of our older weapon systems, and I'm going to be a little opaque about this, but from his TTP, he's now able to provide life-saving warning to airmen in Havas. And I was so blown away with this. You know, I got up, I shook his hand, I gave him my RMO, but I also made sure that ACC has him on stage at Nellis next month, because we're going to brief this to the CAF and to the MAF. And this is important. And that happened from a 14-year Master Sergeant Lynch. Our power is our people. It is not the equipment. It is not the billion-dollar investment. It's the small investments that we make in training them and the free investment we make in empowering them. He's going to save a life if we go to war based off that TTP. And he's going to save a life without even being on crew, because he is impacting the system. I was very impressed by that. Our Power and Combat Forces Command absolutely is our people. I will also tell you that one of the things that has surprised me is I've been in the Space Force now for, I think, 3 years, a little over 3 years. And our junior enlisted are not similar to other junior enlisted. They're a little bit older. There's a little bit more university and college done. And there is a significant ability that we can push down that is still going to be executed with precision, forethought, and excellence. And that's what I want to instill through my command chain. I want to instill through my command chain what makes us strong we can lean on. And it doesn't just make us strong as a military service. It makes us stronger in combat. And let me tell you why. Each one of our junior guardians are choosing to serve. They're raising their right hand to support and defend the Constitution. They have volunteered in. They are also volunteering to stay in. Our retention rates are like 98%, okay? That's significantly high. And in case anyone here didn't know it, but I know you all do, space is a technical career field. So the longer you keep someone, the more proficient they get. Our enemy doesn't have that benefit. Our enemy that I focus on is the PLA. 35% of the PLA is conscripted every year. They do their 2 years of service and then they stop. Most of them stop. It's going to be hard for them to compete with us in high technology warfare because they can't retain their people. What we have a specialist for do, they have their version of a captain do. And at the end of the day, thinking, empowered guardians at the lowest level are going to outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight the commies.
You know, that has me think of a question, sir. So I love AI. I use it, the tools, Nipper GPT, the new one that just came out, Gen AI, and I probably don't use it as I should, like as far as how deep it can go. A lot of it is time savings. For example, we had the government shutdown. We had a lot of data that we needed to pour through to figure out what the impacts were. I used it for trend analysis to see where the points that we could focus on. I know there's more efficient ways we could use it to optimize our combat operations, and I was wondering, what are your thoughts on that, sir?
So I will tell you that AI and ML could be amazing or it could be dangerous. So we have to make sure that we know what we're using and we know how to use it. One thing we have to look at is how we're training people to use it, okay? Because we want it to improve our effectiveness. It will improve efficiency. The Department of the Air Force loved me so much, they sent me to a general officer class, okay? Because the service loves you. That's why they send you to training, okay? They sent me to MIT about 2 summers ago, and I went through what was ostensibly AI ML for old dummies, okay? There used to be books for dummies, but none of you got that joke, so it didn't really land. But so I went through that course, and really that course was to teach senior executives how not to get lied to when they're engaging with industry about AI. So my level of background on it's kind of good from both that course and from working at the National Security Agency. But I will tell you, I use it, and I just recently used it last month. For all of those commanders out there who have written commander readiness assessments and reports or inspection reports, I took all of them and I loaded it into 2 different AI engines. And the prompt I gave it after I loaded all those documents in, which were 5 years of documents, so what are the deficiencies in the command? I said, if I had $5 million, what should I spend it on to improve readiness and lethality? That was my prompt. The answer it gave back was actually the answer that our S8 gave me. So I used it as confirmatory information on what I should use my next dollar on. Now, AI didn't give me the answer. AI gave me the confidence that our S8 was actually reading the reports, right? Because the things that they said 5 million would be useful for was fixing generators to make sure ops floors were resilient, building secondary ops floors for resiliency, and then third, leaning in on training and leadership development. So I used it as confirmatory data. I'm excited to see where it takes us. I think we have some great opportunities. I'm very excited that both at the Department of War and at the Department of the Air Force, they have enabled us with AI tools. Inside the Combat Forces Command, we have over 760 people who have accounts on SpaceGPT, which just started in August. I have one of those accounts, so that's from our S6 in the service. And we need to start using it because it is going to make us more effective. It is going to make us more effective. What are your thoughts?
The proper utilization of AI, I think I need to go to that course for dummies or Cliff Notes. Anybody know what a Cliff Note is if you're over 45? That's how I passed high school. It's great. We need to train our force how to use optimally and not to make the decision for them, but to get their wheels turning and maybe other viewpoints they're not getting any other place. Yeah. I think there's a fine line between you put something in ChatGPT or Gen AI and it gives you an answer. That's not the answer. There's still work to do and think critically about what that is and everywhere else. So I think proper understanding of the benefits and also the downsides of it needs to get out more for at least senior leaders.
Yeah, and the last kind of summary point I would give to everyone is even though you think you are running fast is relative, okay? We are in the profession of arms. Our job is to be combat ready and ready to win. And I add that last part in on purpose, ready to win. Because in the profession of arms, you need to be ready to fight. And fighting is against an adversary. And when you think you are running fast, it is only relative to how fast your opponent is running. China will lean in with AI and ML because they don't have you. They don't have the thinking, empowered junior enlisted and junior officer course. So you will be fighting against AI. You're going to need AI on your web belt because you're gonna need to fight it. So think about that. As I incentivize you to use it, realize your adversary is gonna use it because they're not as trained, they're not as motivated, and they will not be as proficient. We're out of time. I appreciate all of our contract partners coming to this conference. Hippie talked about it a couple times, but this is the Space Force Conference. We are excited to have you here, and every year this gets better. So I look forward to seeing you next year.